Nearman Condition, the home of collected editions. Oh my gosh, look at that panel of Batman. You have the absolute, you have the deluxe. DC Comics firing on all cylinders.
As the sunsets of Gotham end for the last time on Earth 1, what will happen to the Dark Knight and all of those who follow and surround his life? Will it be their last cry, or will the night finally end for those who happen to be living in it? We're going to be taking a look at the DC Finest Batman Red Skies trade paperback, and you are watching this on Nearman Condition. Salutations, fellow comic book reader. I am Dom of X, Nearman Condition Manager. We got a look at Batman Red Skies, one of my most anticipated quarter 3, and also the latter end of 2025 books to come out from DC. This has been a long time waiting, at least on my end, for this specific book, and I can't wait to show and tell you of all of the goodness that is inside of this collected edition. And here we're going to be taking a look at the front of the cover, which is illustrated of Daredevil Gene Colan on issue 556 of Detective Comics. We've got Moench, Mandrake, and Colan there on the bottom. This time we have sort of a black to, or transparent to black gradient that they are using specifically for the bottom of the DC Finest, featuring Doug Moench, Tom Mandrake, and Gene Colan respectively. And I think this marks a second straight week where I have not had any issues with the accredited creators on the front end of this book. Now, if we take a look at the side, we do have Batman Red Skies, DC Finest, you know the gist, from the years 1985 to 1986. With just in 6 rhyme. But we actually, if we look specifically here, we also do have a pinup on the bottom by Tom Mandrake, who again illustrated a good portion of this book. And on the backhand side, we have the presenting DC Finest with the select covers from Batman and Detective Comics issues, of course, and the large-scale timeline here, of course, of Batman being created in 1939. The Night Bleeds, and they talk a bit about the synopsis of the book as well on the bottom. The same can be said for all of these other books. Now, because we do have some other DC Finest in retrospect to stand it up against, and oh man, the way that this lines up all evenly together in retrospect from 85 to 88, this has to be, I mean, this is pure uniformity joy. If you are a big fan of uniform books, well, besides it falling or almost falling, I can't say that I am not disappointed by the outcome. Although if you do see the differences or realization, we do see a couple of differences in the hue, specifically for the DC logo. You can see that the middle, anyways, year 1 and year 2, has a little bit of a more saturated color of the DC Bullet logo as opposed to the left hand and the right hand side. So for those who might be looking at their shelf and wondering, oh no, like, is there an error? Well, that is just the only difference that we have as far as the logo consistency is concerned. And there is a breaking point. So as you may know, this Red Skies takes place in the middle of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and also a little bit before and a tiny bit after, if you want to even call it that. There is a red background, hue background, if you may, that is on the Red Skies trade paperback, while year 1 and 2 and The Killing Joke and Other Stories feature a yellow background on their respective pinups. And if I can even just line it up just to show you a little bit, I mean, it kind of looks like a hexagon octagonal pattern, but nonetheless, the hue for the back is the same, or a little bit more saturated. As you can see on the left-hand side, it is a little bit of it is the same shade, if you will, as the year 1 and year 2. And then on the right-hand side, we do have a purple. So again, a little bit more uniformity there. I wish anyways, but it does have the same gradient that it follows on the bottom respectively. And that being said, let's go ahead and open up DC Finest Batman Red Skies. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at DC Finest Batman Red Skies. I know this has been a long time waiting for so many of you folks. It is finally here. On the inside cover, we do have the cover to issue number 390 of Batman, drawn by Tom Mandrake. So it's nice to see both sides of the aisle as far as the two artists that are mainly featured in this book are concerned. So again, Tom Mandrake, Gene Colan on the covers. Of course, Batman created by Bill Finger with Bob Kane. On the left-hand side, we do have, again, the copyrighted material information, editorial information, and printing material information with all of the names that you would expect. In this case, Len Wein, Robert Greenberger, and Roy Thomas are the editors. Len Wein, of course, was one of the head honchos at DC at the time, before Dennis O'Neil stepped in, as Crisis on Infinite Earths did shake everything up. It also shook up the editorial board too, so Len Wein being a big part of that. We also do have credited restorers and the people who brought this book back to life with Hi-Fi, who you actually might know. Brian Miller is one of the people over there at Hi-Fi. Love their colors. Love all the work that they have done for the last 20 years. You might have noticed some of them, again, from books such as New X-Men. If there is a comic book that you have read in the past 20 years from Marvel or DC, there's a big chance that Hi-Fi has had some work in there. You also have Michael Kelleher and Kellustration along with Nick Lyons. So there is a big thanks to those guys for being able to put this book back on the map, back on the board. Also, you have the table of contents. So we are starting this off with Detective Comics issue 554 and rounding it off back and forth depending on the books. And one thing that I do love about the reading order that they give us, not only with the selected mapping, if there is a two-parter or sometimes even a four-parter, there are specific points where I really appreciate that they have actually managed to place this not only in a beautifully realized reading order, but there are no breaks and stoppages at all with any of the stories. So you are going to be getting everything from front to end without a hitch, without a break, and it is just absolutely tremendous. Again, from the old board, just to be able to see this book in restoration and in full. And I know that I have mentioned that DC usually does these warnings on books printed before 1986. This time, we actually do not have a said so warning. I will say this is definitely not a book that you should be giving to your kid. There are still very much mature themes here, and also some things that might just be a little bit outdated as far as the times are concerned. So again, just head in with caution. I know that there are probably going to be some of you saying like, well, why is there? Well, there are. I'm just going to say there are some panels that I think I might want to avoid here for the sake of safety and whatnot. So let's go ahead and dive into this. In this specific collected edition is Secret Origins issue number 6, or at least the A story to issue number 6, written by Roy Thomas. Batman issues 388 to 400, along with annual issue number 10 from 1986, and Detective Comics issues 554 to 567. There are no breaks and stoppages between this and also the mapping of the next couple of DC Finest. I know that we had some scares with the possible double dipping of the issues from year 1 and 2 to the issues in the Killing Joke and other stories, but rest assured there are no double dips, and everything here is as follows right before Bruce turns to a brand new, if you want to even call it a brand new era in his history with the post-crisis Batman. And this is also a 656 pager, so just like the other Batman books and also the Superman ones that we've gotten and the Wonder Woman ones that we've gotten, we have gotten pretty big collections so far from the Trinity, and this is nothing short of that. Here it is all Doug Moench. Doug Moench is the star writer for all of this book, with the exception of the Secret Origin story written by Roy Thomas, as of course Doug Moench was not on. you also in here have a whole list of very shorts, a very short list, but a great list nonetheless, of illustrators such as Tom Mandrake, as I aforementioned. We also have Jan Dorsema on inks on one of these issues, and I find that absolutely spectacular. You also have Gene Colan and Bob Smith inking and supplying the supporting art along with his stories. Klaus Janson, who does a couple of the fill-in issues. He actually does the first issue that's in here in Detective Comics, issue number 554, and we've seen Klaus Janson in these DC Finest Batman issues. Dennis Cowan, who also spectacularly fills in and does my favorite issue in here, which is the annual. Paul Galassi also has a couple of issues in here. He does a two-part story with the KGB against the GCPD, whatever that might mean to be. Roger Marshall and Terry Austin also fill in. And, of course, all of the wonderful pinup artists in issue number 400, some of which ended up... I mean, there's a Bill Sienkiewicz pinup in here that absolutely is rock-solid spectacular. Let's go ahead and talk about this book. What's in here? Why should you buy this? Why should you even care? Why is this so hyped up? There are so many questions that I want to answer, and I don't want to spoil for anybody who has not gotten into this material yet. So let me go ahead and make my pitch, and I will attempt to avoid spoilers, but I'm just going to put them here because... God forbid, my goodness. I love spoiling stuff sometimes. I don't know. The line is still very fuzzy, and I know it's been 1 year since I've done this, but let's go ahead and talk about it. Flash Rogues. We have a couple of Flash Rogues that start and kick off this specific book. We actually do have Mirror Master and Boomerang, who end up in Gotham City, and they have to tackle on the Batman. So this specifically, I want to highlight that there are a couple of sections in this book. Like, you could divvy it up into sections, and honestly, I think it would make sense for the whole of it. There are some things that still stick as far as like overall themes go, and I'll get into that in a minute. The first third of this book is a section that I would like to call the Crisis on Infinite Earths tragedy. And what Crisis on Infinite Earths brings to this book, as you might know, this book is appropriately called Red Skies. And honestly, what better way to call it than, of course, the Red Skies that doomed every single book that DC was publishing at the time to all cohesively place it onto one single universe. Crisis on Infinite Earths for the Batman and Detective issues, written by Doug Moench, specifically tackle the emotional aspects of Batman. And this is what I mean by that. There is a soap opera element in this specific Batman run that I think has particularly been a tiny bit absent in the last couple of years of Batman. I feel like we never had it with the James Tynion run. And I felt like we never even had it with Chip Zdarsky either, where we were going for these larger than life stories, get to see what the atmosphere of Gotham is. And while this book, I feel like, could have had a larger chance to see how this specific era of Gotham City operates, this specific soap opera deals with Bruce Wayne tackling with 4 different love interests at the time. You have Catwoman, who's still running around and he's still very much in love with. You have Bruce Wayne, not as Batman, but as Bruce Wayne, in this very, very awkward, broken relationship with Vicky Vale. You've still got him not really pining, but still dealing with some of the after effects of his relationship with Alfred Pennyworth's daughter, Julia. And a character who pops up, who first appeared in the pages of issue number 529 of Detective Comics, known as Nocturna, who is, spoiler alert, related to Jason Todd, and I will not reveal as to why that is important, because I want you to figure out in the books yourselves. But one reason why I bring this up is because for the first third of this book, it really is Bruce Wayne, along with Jason Todd, who is still currently his Robin. He hasn't been retconned or anything else like that. We saw him pop up earlier in the earlier issues of Detective Comics with Jerry Conway. They are dealing with something that is very, very big and near to Bruce's heart. And what these Red Skies tie-in issues, if you want to call them that, yes, we're gonna label Crisis on Infinite Earths as that. What Red Skies infinitely ties into is this idea that, yes, while the skies may be burning and the ground may be shaking, and the ground literally does almost kill a couple of important Batman characters in those tie-ins, what it really does attempt to nail at is the overall messy life that Bruce has somehow gotten himself into because of his double life as Bruce Wayne and as Batman. And we also have to deal with Jason Todd at the middle of it all, trying to figure out how exactly his life is going to work. There are specific characters that are affected by everything that is going on in the world around him, to an emotional standpoint where some of these confrontations literally could mean the life or death between people that he might care for and people that he doesn't have that big of an attachment to. And so for the first third of the book, we're just seeing all of these different relationships get entailed. Sometimes, like I said earlier, we have, the Flash Rogues being placed into the fold. We get introduced to a couple of other characters as well. But the main instance is really the buildup. And the Crisis on Infinite Earths tie-ins are a crescendo to this ideal, in fact, that Bruce just can't get a grip on life in the way that he wants it to be. He expects it to be. And that really is the unfortunate and tragic part of Batman, and honestly why I found a lot of this book to be super strong at the hold. And if you are also trying to figure out, does that mean, his entire life is going to be affected? You get to see a lot of the after effects of those relationships that I've aforementioned between Batman and Robin and Catwoman and Nocturna play a super big role in the rest of this book as well. What Doug Moench manages to do with the elements that are very much at the core aspect of, just overall Bruce's life just being not so great, he just can't get a grip on everything. And I find that really, really fascinating, and just an overall study to see how tragic a life can be in the midst of the whole world burning around Bruce. The only things that eventually matter in the long run are his relationship with Robin, of course, with Jason, and all of his loved ones as well. And I find it absolutely spectacular. We also get to see instances of other characters popping in. While you do not get the Green Arrow backups in some of these Detective Comics issues, and I will supposedly believe that we will be able to get those in the DC Finest Green Arrow book that will come before the Longbow Hunters, we do get a couple of issues too where we get to see Green Arrow and Batman begrudgingly team up. There are a lot of ideals that are thrown around with not only Bruce as a superhero, but also him as a symbol. What does that exactly mean? And we get to see that from Green Arrow's point of view as well. So if you are missing just a tad bit of context between the brand new look for Black Canary, that's of course going to follow into Crisis on Infinite Earths, and after that, we do get to see one of those issues where their relationship is placed in unfold, and it also feels very much like one of those super fun Brave and the Bold issues, but also with a little bit more of that drama, that juicy drama that you're going to be getting for most of, if not all of this book. We also get to see Batman figure out what the heck is going on between him and Catwoman, at least in this specific book. It's not, I would say, completely different, but it is a little bit different after the fact, because of course we do have Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I also should mention that the version of some of these characters are going to be the last version that you see of these said characters until, the Anti-Monitor says, well, it's time to do something about all of these different Earths. So for the second third of this book is really him and Catwoman managing to team up in different ways and more than one. Can she be a reformed superhero? And can she also get the trust of Batman's allies around him? And I am trying to flip through and see again. There are pages. One thing that I love specifically about the Catwoman relationship with Bruce in this one, or I should say with Batman, is that they are very much on the line of, I'm going to fight side by side with you. You matter more to me than anyone. But that means he also not only places the GCPD in danger, because not everybody, of course, trusts Catwoman as a person. But I would also like to say in that manner that Robin also cannot trust Catwoman in the same way. He goes in one of the issues, Bruce, why on earth are you going out again? Are you going out to see that Catwoman fellow? Is she more important to you than me? Like, don't you know what's going on? And like I said earlier, that everything with Nocturna turns on a heel, specifically with this DC Finest. And you get to see really like what the evolution of not only the relationship that Gotham, like that Bruce Wayne has with Robin, but also can Catwoman mend his relationship or her relationship with Robin as well. And again, that all ties in ahead. The relationship building, you'll also get to see a lot of Jim Gordon and especially Harvey Bullock in these issues. One thing that I love, if there is anything that I have to praise it for besides the amazing drama that I would say is built up in this specific collection, it is in the case of Harvey Bullock being one of the best foils that I have read in an 80s book. I will say that Harvey Bullock has always to me just been one of those like awkwardly standing cops that just happen to be partly in the way because he doesn't necessarily trust everyone. And that is a wedge for two reasons. Number one, he doesn't trust Catwoman all the way, because why would you trust a person who has stolen all of their lives and he wants to see with his brand of justice, see her being turned in. But now he also has to trust Robin. And he also notices, and this is one of the things that I know it's cheesy, but I love that he has a hunch. He has a hunch that this Robin was completely switched out by someone. So he knows that it's not, well, we know it's not Dick Grayson. But he also has a sense that it's not the person that Robin used to be. The mannerisms are a little bit different. He feels different. He might be a little bit shorter. And we get to see that built throughout too. So for all of this book, we do get to see a lot of trust issues between Harvey Bullock and the people who are trying to fight their way to see Gotham be a safer spot for everybody. And not only that too, we also get to manage to have other characters being brought into the limelight for the last time before Crisis as well. Two-Face gets a brand new reintroduction in this specific DC Finest volume. We also have a couple of other characters who also pop up who are relatively brand new, such as the Film Freak and also the Night Slayer. And these guys also have roles to fill. One thing that I will say that is different in retrospect to the rest of the DC Finest that we've seen, or the post-Crisis Batman, you might see these guys maybe for the last time. And again, I don't want to spoil, but a lot of this is going to be based on the hedgehold of, these characters, maybe they won't last, maybe they will. Are they going to make it by the end? But I also will say, in light of all of this, that there are absolutely no breaks in between this volume and Batman Year 1 and Year 2. So if you have read Batman Year 1 and Year 2 and you're wondering, well, is Crisis going to be a breaking point? This book feels the same tonally as Batman Year 1 and Year 2 does. This Doug Moench volume feels, and like the writing feels a lot of the same as you would the Max Allan Collins run on Batman, the Mike W. Barr run on Detective, and even the Jim Starlin run on Batman. They all feel conversely the same in one way or another. A lot of dark undertones, a lot of detective work, and again, we just here have more so of a focus on the soap opera aspects of it, rather than, I would say, anything else. And speaking of soap operas, what wouldn't be an 80s book without a book that introduces us to the drug usage in America? We actually do have an issue where it specifically focuses on Jason Todd dealing with drugs at his young and ripe age. Is that the way that we word it? I am going to say that it is up to you, the reader, to decide whether you think that Doug Moench tackled it in a smart way or not. But I will say that I did find the issue a little bit better tackled than some of the Spider-Man issues and the Power Pack issues that I have read around the same time. So again, take it as you may, but there is a good amount of social commentary in this book as well. I mean, Nocturna, for example, also has plenty of social commentary in this book as far as everything goes. The same goes for Catwoman. And honestly, that Green Arrow Batman one is lit up to the pack in terms of, again, what does it mean to be a superhero? Is your side of justice better than what I see justice as? All of these questions are conversely tackled and appropriately fitted in this as well. We also do have the inclusion, again, of the Secret Origins issue. We do have Roy Thomas, who is writing it, and while eras might change and bookstore and stories might change as well, they are always going to be historically referenced for the sake, even if the Anti-Monitor decides to say that this story has to end. There is no stopping whatever this might look like. So if you are a big fan of the Golden Age or the Silver Age versions of Batman, I guarantee you that you will also get a kick out of it as well. And very much it feels like it's in the same way that the Wonder Woman Legend of Wonder Woman issue felt like. Secret Origins number 6 felt a lot like that to me as well. So if you're a big fan of that, I guarantee you're probably going to get a kick out of it as well. I would also like to say that I mentioned earlier that we had the Batman Annual issue number 10 in here, which I just flipped through. Batman Annual issue number 10 is a story that focuses on Hugo Strange, and I've always had this fascination with Hugo Strange ever since Arkham City came out back on the PS3. I remember playing that a billion times. But one of the things that I always loved about the book was that Hugo Strange, or the game, was that Hugo Strange was just a super big part of it. And we also get to see in that specific issue why Hugo is such an amazing villain, at least in my opinion. We get to see him use his smarts and power to ruin Bruce's life in one way or another, because of course he knows Bruce Wayne. The issue ends hilariously, but I would like to know that, at least part of my teenager senses were satisfied, because I had never previously read that specific issue. But it just has this lasting impact on me as somebody who has always wanted to read more Hugo Strange, but I've only gotten bits and pieces here and there. Of course, with Night of the Monster Men being one of the more modern depictions, I really appreciate that specific annual. I would also like to say that Batman issue number 400, again, does mark the last vestiges of this hallowed era of comics as we head into a post-crisis world, a crisis world where things are going to be different for Catwoman and Julia. These are going to be the last times that you see those specific renditions of those characters. And it really is a heartwarming goodbye. Not a heartwarming goodbye because people get killed off, but it is a nice goodbye. It is a nice goodbye to everything that you guys have enjoyed up to this point, and it is a marking point for what this specifically will bring. We have a lot of stories in here, different chapters, if you will, that feature a good amount of the Rogues Gallery. And I would also like to add to that point that issue number 566 of Batman very much does feel like a Rogues or a Secret Files and Origins gallery for the Rogues Gallery of Batman. I just find a lot of that interesting. So if you are a big fan of every single portion of the character, if you want to know more about specific villains, you want to know more about the uncovered secrets of Nocturna and why she's so important, I mean, this book is definitely the place to be. And I'm very thankful that I finally got a chance to read all of this as, of course, Crisis on Infinite Earths hitting. And as we go through all of the incredible pinups, Steve Rude, this one being my favorite, Bill Sienkiewicz, absolute masterclass in painting. DC Finest more so, and that, as they say, is the bleeding last. Now, if you want the night to bleed on your end with this DC Finest Batman Red Skies trade paperback, check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries. Emails answer within 24 hours, waltzcomicshop.com, and you can use the code near mint condition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over 40 euros. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
Ooh, and that is going to be it for me. I want to know in the comment section down below if you have also been waiting expeditiously for this, as I have been. And if you have read any of this material, and if not, let me know. That is going to be it for me. I am Dom of X. Please stay safe, everybody, wherever you are.